Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile discussion. One of the most important questions people ask about any patch cycle is when are the patch notes coming out? In fact, this is asked so often that it got memed on the divination card Cursed Words, where the artwork contains the words patch notes when. We have an answer to this question for patch 3.22 and it will be when this video is 9 days old. So Friday of next week is Grinding Gear Games' target date for when the patch notes will be available for Trial of the Ancestors. This is the date to wait for if you're planning on designing your own build for patch 3.22. It's also the date you need to wait for if you are considering taking a build that was popular in 3.21 and playing it in 3.22, because it's always the case that there'll be a mixture of buffs and nerfs in there, and we don't know how severe these will be. A couple of particularly important things to look for are whether there are any changes to the unique amulet Eternal Damnation, which comes from the Sanctum content, and whether there's going to be any changes to the Anoint Vengeant Cascade. I think these are probably the two most significant things that will have the biggest impact on people's league start builds and also on people's later league builds as well. But there's going to be other things as well. For example, I don't think that Heat Shiver needs a nerf, but Grinding Gear Games might disagree, and we'll find out exactly what they think on Friday of next week. Now, the other things that are worth your while keeping an eye out for in the interim. Grinding Gear Games intend to have some teasers for Trial of the Ancestors, but they're not ready as yet, and that's probably because Exilecon was so much work. So there will be teasers coming. I'll cover them on this channel when they're around, but we don't have anything as yet. Another thing Grinding Gear Games are working on in the aftermath of Exilecon is uploading individual videos of each talk from Exilecon. Currently they are all up on the YouTube channel of Grinding Gear Games, but they're a bit of a mess where they're in one video, and there are timestamps so you can just sort of jump around through it, but it'll be more polished in the future. So if you want to watch them now when they're not polished, you can do that. If you want to wait until they're more polished, then you can also do that as well. Finally, the press kits. These are something that content creators like myself always really look forward to every league, but they're actually something that can be of interest to people who aren't in content creation as well. These contain art that is linked thematically to the league, and they're perfect if you want to use them as desktop wallpapers. So if you want something that's PoE 2 themed or 322 themed, you can download the press kits here, have a look through and see something that jumps out at you. One thing I am really surprised though did not make the 322 press kit is this keynote art for the supporter packs for 322, which I thought was one of the best things that they've had in any of their announcements just from a graphical perspective. Maybe that's just my own artistic taste, but I thought this looked fantastic here, this artwork. And it is unfortunately not a desktop wallpaper inside the press kits, but there is a bunch of other stuff in there, so feel free to download that. It is a freebie, and it is something that's very useful for someone like me in order to make thumbnails out of. Anyway, it is a very quiet news day today, so that is all we've got. I'm going to leave it at this point. May your Varlobs have interesting results, and I will see you around. And when we have a bit more information on the new expansion, I will make sure that I have some coverage of it here.